My name is Duits. The first time we heard about COVID, I was active on the island of Curaçao in the Caribbean, preparing for a meeting, and we needed to adjust a lot of things at that moment in time. And in that sense, we actually started a program that was more focused on the collaboration between institutes and more on a use of Zoom and other communications, preparing for everything that was coming. And eventually we needed to stop a lot of bench work that was going on and focus more on collaborating on theoretical topics, making use of AI and things like that. My research was affected by the pandemic because a lot of bench work could not be done. But on the other hand, we tried to develop new ways of looking at the challenges we had. We switched to coronavirus, and a lot of work that was put into that part now still is a new program we have. And it also started a nice idea of collaborating institutes. So we're collaborating with New York, we're collaborating with Catania in Italy, we're collaborating with Rotterdam in the Netherlands. So it switched our focus a little bit, but nevertheless, it gave us new material and new avenues to look into. And that has been very fruitful. Bringing that all back to the main work we were doing and combining that. So through the COVID situation, we actually came out with a much broader view on the issues we are looking at, which for us is infectious diseases. Regarding my career trajectory, I think COVID-19 had a very specific influence on that, in a sense that I got to know a lot of other colleagues that were facing the same issues, had big programs, stopped, and together we collaborated on new programs. As I mentioned already, the AI program, the drug repurposing program, and now that is also evolving in a viral interaction program, which we do partly bench side, but most of it right now is being done through simulations and AI. Regarding the trainees, I think the pandemic showed them the vulnerability we have as human beings here, the vulnerability we have regarding our work, the dedication we have for our work, and the enthusiasm we have. I mean, it all brings out in such a way, when you have such an event as a pandemic, you start to realize as a scientist, but more of that as a human being, that you are not completely in charge of everything you're doing. So when you're in training as a student for becoming a scientist, it's also partly a philosophical thing. You're starting to realize that you can do a lot of research, but you are just part of a whole system. And we had some very interesting discussions on that part, because when you address such a disruptive event like a pandemic, it's more than not only going back to work or not doing the things you do normally, but it's also realizing the fact that how we as humans, and foremost as scientists, have an impact on the world around us. But more importantly also that we need to respect what we're doing, and we need to respect the world around us. And we're very privileged as scientists because we get to do things that potentially can influence others' lives. So I think that's one of the most important things for all my students and who are involved, that we discuss these things, because that's the next level, or it's another level of being a scientist. Regarding the field of immunology and how my thoughts were on immunology, it has only strengthened the fact that my first scientific love, which is immunology, which it still is so important for everything we're doing. If we're looking at viral infections, if we're looking at other issues regarding age, senescence, chronic diseases influenced by viral infection, I mean, you're seeing the whole system coming together, the whole network. And one of the most beautiful things we're seeing is the interconnectivity of all of what we're doing. But with the important role of immunology in that part, it only strengthens my feeling that we are doing research in one of the most exciting fields of the world. Yeah, regarding the networking and the topics we were discussing, it was awesome in the sense that a lot of things that we did not do because of the fact we weren't accustomed to it, we now see potential in all of this, in the effort of bringing the whole world together, in discussing things. Our team has a regular meeting once a week, started with COVID, still has that meeting, and we needed to figure out, for instance, what the best time would be. Because at that moment, I was in Curaçao in the Caribbean. Our colleagues were either in New York or in Catania and in the Netherlands, and also in China. So the moment we were starting, it would be around 11 o'clock in the morning in Curaçao in the Caribbean. It would be 11 o'clock at night in China, and all of that in between. And that was very exciting, that was very interesting, that was very new. But it has so much potential. It has so much potential in order to bring all of us together. And another aspect that I think was very interesting and very new is that you realize that you can share data. The importance of sharing data and having groups sitting together talking about, for instance, we would be starting about the immunology part regarding the lungs and epithelial cells and infectious diseases, and then we would have a discussion with experts on bats, looking at how they are perceiving the issues and trying to combine potential pathways, potential drugs. So very exciting, and expanding actually as a scientist all your possibilities by not only focusing on very specific issues you were dealing with, but allowing yourself in those discussions to broaden your mind. And when you broaden your mind, it brings about a lot of creativity and a lot of new ideas. So that was actually very exciting.